Welcome back to another Bellator fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting some of the key fights for Bellator 238, Bud versus Cyborg. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card that I'll be predicting. So in our first fight, we have in the bantamweight division, Sergio Pettis versus Alfred Khashakyan. So first off, I'm going to talk about the odds for this fight right here. Right now, you got Pettis as a minus 300 favorite, and like Khashakyan is like a plus 230 underdog, and I just think the fight should be a lot closer. I think Khashakyan presents a lot of threats, especially in areas where Pettis is kind of questionable at. Khashakyan brings a lot of power. Pettis has a glass chin. Pettis doesn't really do well with pressuring fighters, just like his brother, older brother. And Khashakyan is a pressuring fighter with a lot of power, some decent boxing that could cause Pettis some issues for sure. So Khashakyan, and also Khashakyan's fought some pretty good competition. He knocked out Albert Morales. He was pretty much dominating Sean O'Malley up until until Khashakyan himself started getting sloppy. He was dominating O'Malley, and he got caught, got put out. So Khashakyan's a very real dude. He's not no guy that is brought in to be killed. He's actually a guy brought in, I guess, to maybe even test Pettis, like really test Pettis. So it's if you're gonna bet, it's a good. Khashakyan could be a good bet for you. It's a very good chance he can pull off an upset in this one. Like, it's a real high chance. And I'll probably even might put a bet on him, depending on how I feel about it. But I wouldn't feel the worst about betting on him. That's all I'm saying. So now, to the actual prediction right here, I see Khashakyan. He has some clean boxing. Definitely not the best in the world. Definitely not even the best in MMA. Probably not top 40, not top 100. But what he does, he has power. He has good pressuring ability. I mean, he's a good pressurer. And he really capitalized off his opponents making mistakes. He's not high level in his box. I mean, high enough of a level in boxing that really makes you make mistakes, or really makes you make too many mistakes, or walks you into stuff. But if you make glaring mistakes, he will capitalize, and he has that power. And that's what he will do. So that's pretty much what I'm saying his striking falls to. And why I mention that is because Sergio Pettis is. Oh, let me talk about the height and weight difference real quick. So Sergio Pettis is really could still make flyweight, like a 5'6", 5'5", and Khashakyan is 5'8" and filled out. He's a bigger bantamweight, so that will be a factor as well. But to get to what I'm predicting about this, I feel like Pettis is too clean into his technique. Like I said, Khashakyan really just capitalize off other people making mistakes. And what Pettis does is he doesn't make too many mistakes. He's clean. He will be the much faster fighter, much sharper technique fighter, where he really kind of comes in. Can Khashakyan land that power that one time greatly, or can he consistently land that power? Can he consistently pressure Pettis? And I'm not going to bet too much on that landing that one big shot. I mean, I'm not going to, as far as the prediction wise, I'm not going to weigh too much on that landing that one big shot. I'm like, can he do that consistently? I'm going to say he really can't do that consistently against the much sharper, much faster Pettis. I think Pettis has way too many tools for him to look at and to worry about. And like I said, Khashakyan really capitalize off people making mistakes, and Pettis doesn't make too many mistakes. So I feel like Pettis can beat him to the punch, or beat him to the kick, or beat him to the strike, like frequently and often, or quick and often. And I think that's really going to be the tell his fight. I think he's going to fight tentatively, is not to get caught, but he's going to stay to his technique and not really give Khashakyan anything to work with. And I think he beats him to decision. So in this one, I got Sergio Pettis via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the featherweight division, Henry Corrales versus Juan Archuleta. So we got two solid dudes right here. If you probably just stick to the UFC and don't really look into Bellator or any other organization, you probably just think, who are these people? But both of these dudes are very solid. I think they both can do very well in any organization you put them in, even the UFC, and they can do pretty decent. I'm not saying they'll be world beaters, but I'm saying they probably can even potentially rank in the top 15, potentially, at in the UFC's featherweight division, potentially. But yeah, they're solid dudes. Henry Corrales, pretty decent wrestling defense. Offensively, I wouldn't say too much about it, but he does have pretty good defensive wrestling. He's a pretty physically strong dude, solid box, solid power, but not the highest arsenal of strikes. He has some pretty basic striking, but he has a lot of power, has a lot of strength, good hips and stuff like that. So he can keep the fight on his feet, or keep the fight where he wants it, and he could put that power in you. That's basically what Henry Corrales brings. Not the guy that's gonna wow you too much, but if he hits you, you're gonna feel that. That's what I'm saying. You definitely gonna feel him in the ring if he's touching you and you're working with him. That's Henry Corrales. That's what type of fighter he is. Juan Archuleta on his side, I wouldn't say he's the most physically strong guy, but he's definitely in shape. Definitely a threat. What he has over Henry Corrales in this one, what Archuleta brings. He brings a lot of tools, a lot of variety to strikes, and I think there's a much more higher understanding of the striking game, and he just brings a lot more tools, and he can throw a lot more volume and chain together a lot more combos, and there's a lot more to work with. Henry Corrales kind of more basic with his striking, and there's really power. John Archuleta is sharper, more volume, more technique, and that's pretty much what the fight comes down to. Yes, Henry Corrales has power, but I just think technique. I take technique over power any day. I just feel like Archuleta is the more cleaner technical fighter, got more angle, better footwork. got more tools and more arsenal. He knows how to use them too, and he will use them. So I feel like that's really going to be the case. Archuleta looking kind of for these big shots or these big counters, or trying to really get in his face and try to smother, but Archuleta not really allowing him to get in, smother his range, and it's picking him apart in this fight. It's been a more cleaner technical fight. I still see it as a competitive enough fight because Corrales is a warrior, he's a fighter, he's tough, he's game. But I feel like Archuleta's also game as well. So I just feel like his game is going to kind of even out, and the technique is going to overlap the strength and power of Corrales. So I just feel like Archuleta just clearly outlands him in significant strikes, and clearly is the one dictating the pace of the fight and where this fight is going when the strikes are landing. And it's been a ring, like that ring generalship inside, or the cage generalship inside there. So in this fight, I got Juan Archuleta via decision. Now on to our next fight, or our co-main event for this card. We have in the featherweight division. This is a fight that's in the featherweight tournament right here. I think this is the second round. We got Darrion Caldwell versus Adam Borics. So right now, Borics is a slight favorite, he's a slight favorite over Darrion Caldwell. But let's see what they kind of bring. Darrion Caldwell, we know he's the NCAA wrestling champion. We got Adam Borics. I think he's more so a full-rounded MMA fighter. Like he's kind of born into MMA, or not really born into MMA, but he started with this like this MMA. He didn't have no real background, I don't think. And I'm not gonna look too much into that. But what I see, he's longer. He got some good flying knees. He got some pretty good striking. A very dangerous guy to deal with. Long, rangy, sharp strikes, and he will attack, and he got some good grappling as well. So a pretty solid guy. But what I really clearly see in this one, not clearly see what I see in this one. I'm gonna go all into Borics this, all into Borics that. I'm gonna see but I'm gonna go into what I saw in Borics in his Pico fight. I saw Borics go against a high level wrestler, and I saw Pico kind of a little bit struggle to get him down to the ground, but Pico still was able to hold him on the ground for a good amount of time in those rounds. And Pico, even though you might say, oh, he's a much better wrestler than Caldwell, he has this and that. You can't really say that. All I can see is that he fought a high level wrestler, and Caldwell is a high level wrestler, NCAA champion, and also he's an actual been a Bellator champion, so his championship's more credible to this, as far as MMA than what Pico's is, because he's actually been a champion at the MMA level, whereas Pico just been wrestling, pure wrestling. So I feel like if Pico can put Borics on the ground and have a lot of success with him, then Caldwell could do the same, and he won't gas out because he's been 5 rounds wrestling and been able to do that. Whereas Pico, he's still a developing fighter, so he kind of gassed himself out trying to hold him down. I feel like Caldwell can have success taking Borics down, holding him down, and I feel like his defense is a lot more clean than Pico, and not even just a little, it's a lot. Pico's defense is very questionable. He gets so cocky or confident about his striking, his power, and his speed, and his athleticism. He just pretty much leave his hands, his whole chest and whole chin exposed. I'm not saying Darrion Caldwell is some phenomenal striker, but at least he is aware that he's not a striker, whereas Pico thinks he's some god or something sometimes. But yeah, I feel like Darrion Caldwell has the wrestling ability to put Borics on the ground and hold him on the ground. Also, he has better jiu-jitsu than Pico. He has the wrestling ability to put Borics on the ground. He has jiu-jitsu to control Borics on the ground. He has a championship experience in the wrestling cardio, in the experience going those 5 rounds wrestling to use against Borics. So he's not just some newbie. He's a guy with experience and credibility in the wrestling ability. He could take Borics down, control Borics. On the feet, he's not going to be there as a sit and duck. And also, Caldwell is a longer bantamweight as well, or at least a longer fighter in general around these lower weight classes. So he's not going to be a shorter guy that's going to give up so much reach against Borics. I still think Borics can definitely use his range a lot more because he's a better striker than Caldwell. But I feel like Caldwell's not going to have that same issue getting in on Borics because he has that length and that range. And he fights very rangy as well, but definitely not as clean as Borics. But I feel like, yeah. Basically what I said is Caldwell has experience. Borics has shown a weakness to wrestling and dealing with that control, and Caldwell has experience in the cardio and the wrestling pedigree to put him on his back and hold him there for the larger majority of this fight, or at least enough to get a decision over Borics. Still see this as a competitive fight. Definitely a lot to respect about Borics, and he definitely has some strikes you got to watch out for. But I feel like Caldwell's wrestling is going to be, the X factor in this fight. And I feel like he's going to be to use it very well and effective and get this decision. So in this fight, I got Darrion Caldwell via decision. Now to our main event, we have in the women's featherweight division a title fight. Defending Bellator champion, women's featherweight champion Julia Budd versus Cris Cyborg, the former women's GOAT of MMA. So it's a pretty big fight right here. Or semi-big fight, I don't know. Depends on how you see it. But this is a pretty decent fight in here in MMA. It's pretty much the best will decide the best pretty much, matter of fact, yeah, the best 145 woman outside of the best fighter in the 140 women's 145 division outside of Amanda Nunes. That's pretty much what this will decide, in my opinion, or should it be everybody's opinion. But yeah, to the actual prediction for this one right here, both of these women are chiseled out, muscled out, big, strong women. And that's no like this. That's just the truth. They're both well conditioned. It's just a clearer than you can see just looking at them for 2 seconds. But yeah, what does Bud bring? One thing I'm just gonna say what I see about Bud. She's just looking at her from around her career, seeing her train with Rampage at times and stuff, and seeing her kind of career kind of have a slow point to where she got to, where she did all of a sudden she started turning up in her career, and even mentioned herself. It's like Julia Budd is kind of a fighter. She has a lot of talent, but she questions her talent a lot, and she's even mentioned that she had questioned her talent a lot, questioned her ability. She kind of not the most confident at times, and it kind of shows in her style. Like she's a big physical woman, but she fights very much on her toes. She does a lot of moving that she doesn't need to. She be bigger than her opponents, and she be on her toes, bouncing around and doing this extra stuff. When she could just probably just be the ring, like this, be that bully in the ring, be that bigger chick and just press these chicks. But she be kind of bouncing around looking for angles and looking for openings. And when she could just make some, because she's just that much stronger than these chicks. And a lot of chicks, matter of fact, in this Bellator this Bellator division, this women's featherweight division in Bellator, or pretty much most of the women's divisions in Bellator, it's like the competition isn't as high as in Invicta or in the UFC. Yes, the champions are high level, but all the competitors aren't necessarily at that level. And like she probably could have ran through a lot of them much quicker than she did, but she kind of be timid out there, bouncing around and like just really letting the fights drag out longer than they should. She has a pretty decent jab. I would say Cyborg actually has a better jab. I would say Cyborg is a better boxer than Bud. I really say Cyborg is pretty much better everywhere than Bud in my opinion, but Bud is definitely a respectful fighter, and if Cyborg coming in sloppy, Bud can certainly capitalize. But I want to see Bud doing that. I want to see the best counters from Bud. Or I see she can definitely move. Even though she's a bigger fighter or a buffer fighter, she can definitely have some good light on her feet. Her kicks kind of slow. She likes to throw a lot of those. She kind of does some teep kicks at times, does some leg kicks. All are which are very catchable. Like they're kind of slow. She's bouncing on her toes and she's transitions. Doesn't transition. I'm stuttering. She doesn't transition that well, and her kicks kind of telegraph. And even these lower level opponents have been able to catch her kicks. Have they been able to do much with them? No, but you're going against a high-level fighter like Cyborg. She's going to be able to catch that kick, probably hit you to the body with a hook, or come over the top with an overhand, and probably put you in your back. And Cyborg has a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and she has some pretty solid wrestling of her own. So if you doing these like telegraph kicks, Cyborg's going to be able to catch those and put you in your back, and probably ground and pound you, or hit you with a shot. And it's not really the best thing to do. And also, like I said, Bud is kind of timid, starts out kind of slow, and Cyborg can pressure. I don't see no real good countering game from Bud. Like she can really counter Cyborg, let Cyborg just gets completely sloppy. But even if she gets completely sloppy in those couple, like with how timid Bud is in these first couple rounds, or I mean the first, like to start, I want to say a couple rounds, I'll say probably like the first round alone, not the whole fight. She did have one fight where she was kind of timid the whole fight, but yeah, I don't think she'll be timid for the whole fight for this fight. Maybe just the first round. So even I feel like if she's that timid in the first round, then Cyborg's gonna be able to get away with being sloppy. But really, I'm going to see Cyborg going to come in there. She's going to be respectful. She'll come in clean. She's training. She knows what Bud brings. She'll come in respectful. She's going to stick with her, keep her boxing technique clean and not really mess up. Like, Cyborg has a good jab. She has good overhand. She has good hooks. She has a lot of different tools. And that Amanda Nunes fight may have made people forget that how clean and good her technique is. But it's still very clean. I think she's going to come in this fight respectful of Bud and not blow her wide or come out here to swing or stick her chin out. And probably stick with her own jab, probably pressure and get in Bud's face and capitalize on Bud throwing these slow kicks and probably counter her either with shots, like catching the kick and counter with shots, or catching with takedowns, and really just being the ring general in this one, like bullying people how Bud should be bullying people or bullying her competition. I think Cyborg will be probably roughly around the same strength, but Cyborg gonna have that authority factor about her. She's gonna be the one pressuring. She's gonna be the one pushing Bud back, and she's gonna be the one countering with big shots and putting more power in shots. Where his Bud kind of like doesn't really put the most emphasis on her shots most times. She really waits, and then she eventually finds it when it's the very perfect opportunity, where Cyborg doesn't really wait around as much. So I feel like Cyborg's gonna be able to capitalize on the timidness of Bud, pressure, push her back a lot, catch some of those kicks and counter. And I really think that's going to be the fight. I think eventually Cyborg starts to break her down with her power and starts to, work on the mental game of Bud, who, like I said, at times is not the most mental strong. And feeling that power, feeling that pressure, and constantly getting countered, getting caught, and your stuff not working or being used against you. I feel like Bud's going to break down through all those factors. And I feel like Cyborg's going to be able to put her away in the third. So in this fight, I got Chris Cyborg via third round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for Bellator 238, Bud versus Cyborg. And as always, thanks for watching.